Wow. The first ever Australian Drachenfest has finished, and the event itself was incredible. It made me feel like I was back in the day when we first started LARPing and first started getting into these big camps, and that was back in the Swordcraft OG days, and all my friends were around me. It just gave you that feel again, like something new. And of course it was something new. It was Drachenfest, which is obviously one of the biggest LARPs in the world. Doing their first event down here in Australia wasn't massive like it is over there. There was a couple hundred people here, but it felt alive, which was something that I've been missing. So I ran a shop essentially just selling gruesome stuff: bones, bloody rags, furs. And then the main thing that I was selling was beef jerky. I make my own spicy beef jerky and I was selling that. And that was profitable. To everyone that came, thank you so much. You made my shop my event. So thank you all for coming to the Bull and Bone. That was a highlight of my LARPing career. So this is going to be kind of a wrap-up video of the event. So I'm not going to get into too much. I'm going to just sort of go through it day by day and just list some of the cool things that we did. So day one, this is what we got up to. The event started off with the avatars being revealed in the opening ceremony, and Drachenfest knows how to put on a ceremony. That felt really good. The audio could use some work. Obviously the microphone was popping, the audio cut in and out. It was kind of a mess when it came to the audio, but the costuming was incredible. All the avatars looked like top quality, like they had the big wings and they just look really good. Everyone that played an avatar that I interacted with did a really good job, but I think the crowning queen of the avatars was the Shadow Camp avatar. Absolutely everyone I spoke to said Daisy did an incredible job. She was coming into this event. She isn't exactly an OG LarpA, so this is a big thing for her. And Shadow Camp started off a bit wary. We weren't 100% sure how it was going to go, and I'm sure Daisy felt the same. But by the end of the event, she's family. She is a goat rider. She is 100% in the horde. Absolutely everyone loved her. She did an incredible job. Her roleplay skills were amazing. The character she played was amazing. It felt like a Disney villain type, like evil witch. Absolutely incredible job. So mad respect to Daisy for that, because that's a big role to take on and you smashed it. The next thing that we did was Shadow Camp had a sacrifice. Well, they had a lot of sacrifices. We actually sacrificed the most people to Limbus out of anyone that they've ever come across. We were just constantly sacrificing people, and it got to the point where Limbus, or the death side of things, was just, their book was filling up with Shadow Camp sacrifices, and it was kind of ridiculous by the end of it. But we also sacrificed ourselves, so I don't know if that's a bit of payback, but we all died as well. Rest in peace, Lord. And then when I was in town, I saw a familiar face and I scared the shit out of this person. But I was standing at Conga's shop. Shout out to Conga, an amazing shop, and he gave me this incredible horn. Well, didn't give it to me, I bought it from him. He's a businessman, come on, calm down. But I got this from him, incredible horn, loved it. But I was standing at his shop and I saw this familiar face, and I was like, that can't be. No. It was just someone that I know from the LARPing community, Drachenfest overseas. Like the videos that I watch to get excited for LARPs are done by the Irish Will. And if you don't know the Irish Will, go check out his channel, I'll link it below. But I was staring at him, and I have a weird face, of course, so he looked at me and thought that I was mad at him because he had a camera and he wasn't in character yet. He didn't have all of his gear on. So I was just staring at him and I scared him, and he went around the corner, and then I was like, that was the Irish Will. So I followed him and he just disappeared like a phantom. Like I couldn't see him anywhere. I feel like he crawled underneath a tent to avoid the weirdness that was me. But I saw him later in the night after the sacrifices, and he was at the tavern, and I feel like after a few drinks I may have approached him in a weird way again, but I was kind of like, what the fuck are you doing here? Why are you in Australia? And he was confused, and then he realised I just knew him from YouTube, and I'm a big fan, so I probably came off like a weirdo, but it was really cool to see him there. Like, I was so shocked that that's why I came off so weird. I'm sure I scared the fuck out of him. But yeah, it was just really interesting to see someone that I watch over there doing it over here, which is, it just blew my mind. So big shout outs to the Irish Will. I can't wait to see what you come up with your video. Hopefully I'm in it at some point. Don't edit me out just because I'm a psycho, but that was really interesting. But then it was just kind of a relaxing night. We sort of settled down, had some food, had some drinks, and that concluded day one.
I'm also going to point out that I'm not going to remember everyone's names. So I'm going to talk about you, I'll show photos of you, but there's a good chance that I'm not going to say your name. So sorry about that.
Day two, here we go. So we started out the day, we opened up the shop for official business. We were selling things. We met some really cool people. Tea shop owner, she came around a lot, and she was buying all sorts of weird stuff from me, like things that I never thought I would sell, and she was just constantly coming back. She's like, oh, I like that, oh, I like that, oh, I like that. So I love you, you're amazing. What was that? Who does that? And then we came up with a game where Tien would wear the bull flag on his back with a sign that says challenge me for it, and then in town I put up signs with a picture of the bull flag and said, if you can find this, bring it back to the bull shop and I'll pay you a copper. I threw away so much fucking money, oh my god. But Tien just kept putting it on, walking around town challenging people, rock paper scissors, wrestling, pretty much anything you could think of. He would just challenge you, or you would challenge him, and he would deliberately lose 90% of it, which fucking bankrupted me. But it was a good introduction, because this is Tien's first camping LARP event. He's never been to a Quest or an Exofest or Drachen, anything like that. This was a big introduction to that. I wandered down to Silver Camp for a little bit on one of my probably 314 breaks during the day from the shop, but I walked down to Silver Camp and they were getting sieged. I'm not allowed to fight. I've got the injury and everything, so I'm not really meant to fight too much, but I went down there and I was just spitting blood everywhere, and that's just become my character. I'm dying of things in real life, so I'll just die in the game. And then we moved around to, I think they were part of Blue Camp, but they were kind of behind Red Camp, but a bunch of dudes from Queensland that made some incredible stuff. Again, I'm not going to say your names because I fucking forget every name I ever think of. But they built this incredible setup. I'll show the video. So as you can see, they've got really cool setup when it comes to their cooking. So they've got the cauldron, they've got the spit, the rotisserie. Absolutely everything looks amazing. And then they had this big, giant Viking sort of longhouse at the back that was really well made. So now the day starts to wind up, and I hear that Shadow Camp is holding a massive in-game ritual. Like, if you mess this ritual up, anyone in the circle's character is dead, done, no coming back. So this had high stakes involved. And the ritual itself was really, really good. Like, we had people singing, we had people chanting, we had like the dogs of war sort of like woof, woof, woof sounds going on. We had like fucking swirly, twirly dudes going around. I met a couple of the goats this night. This is the first time I've interacted with a couple of the Northside goats, and they did an incredible job with this. They really got into it, and they succeeded with their ritual. And after that, we decided to have a few too many drinks and head down to the Silly Goose Tavern, which was kind of like a makeshift tavern. It wasn't the most immersive, but it was the most fun. The main tavern, I don't even think was set up yet. That was one of the biggest controversies about the whole event, is the main tavern wasn't ready when the event was on. So that was kind of a kick in the nuts, but the Silly Goose was there to fill the gap. And we went down there, we just got drunk, we played a few games. They had axe throwing. I got real cocky with it, and I was like, this is easy. And then I dominated because I'm just amazing. And then I played chess against Sticky, my sister from the Goat Riders. And I love you, Sticky, but it turns out mentally you're as bad as me. We're both stupid as shit. Because it ended up as Bishop and King versus Bishop and King. And then the bishops got eliminated, and it was just king versus king. And I don't think you can win from that point, so we just gave up. But that was a grouse night. We sort of just settled down there and relaxed. And I went back to the tent and passed out. Okay, moving on to day 3. So started out as usual, opening the shop. Ran the shop for a while, interacted with a bunch of cool people. This day I started selling beef jerky, and I went there with 2 kilos of beef jerky, just in bags, not like big bulk setup, just little bags, sold the lot of it. So next year I'm intending on going with like 5-6 kilos worth of beef jerky. And then if I don't sell it, I'm just going to eat it and poo fire anyway. So that's win-win. Then we went to the green, I think it was green camp. It looked like green because they had a lot of fancy stuff. But Green Camp was running a ritual, and I mistakenly thought that the orc that was blocking me from going in was Shu, the Goat Rider orc. I thought he was just finally wearing his mask. So I kept trying to go in. I'm like, why are you blocking me? I'm here to interrupt and annoy the ritual. But why are you? And then I realized it wasn't Shu. So we sold a bunch of stew. We were really happy with that. We knew that the next night when we were selling stew again, we were going to go nuts because people wanted the first stew so badly. So we had a lamb stew, and then we did a vegetable stew the next day, but I'll get into that. Well, I probably won't. We sold some soup, all right? Get over it. So later that night, I went down to incredibly set up. Some of my best customers when it comes to beef jerky, the guys down at the embassy. So I think they were selling mead, but they had the embassy set up. They had hay bales. I don't think I got any footage of it, sadly. But they had hay bales set up. The shop itself looked beautiful. But to access it, you need to swear an oath in the name of, I can't remember the name of the guy's God, Bob. So you had to say, in the name of Bob, I acknowledge that I will not be aggressive or start any trouble, that sort of thing. So it's just like you promising to be a good boy. But because he put in a false god's name in my character's eyes, I couldn't say it. I wouldn't say it, and I refused, and I was rude about it, and I was like, no, your gods are silly. I was like, just refusing flat out to honor this tradition that they have at the shop. And he's like, well, if you can't do it, you got to get out. And I'm like, I understand that. And he did a really good job. His missus was there. She's great. She loved the beef jerky. They were too scared of the spicy jerky, but they got the hot jerky and loved it. So thanks again for coming to the shop for that. But the embassy night was actually one of my favorite nights. I did enjoy that conversation. It was one of the best role plays that I've had in a while. The last thing I did on this night was the patch-in and OG ceremony. So the Goat Riders is loosely based on a motorcycle club setup. So we have patch members, we have prospects, we call them baby goats as well. And then you've got the top tier, which is OGs. So these are people that have been around forever and they've earned their stripes, they put in work, they're noticed. So these people get recognized, and we do it very slowly, and that's because we're unorganized and we're dumb. But we have been doing it really slowly, and we usually will only bring 1 in or 2 in at a time. The OG goats are the Melbourne goats, and we've started OG patching the Northern goats. And this event we got to do Sam, and this was easily one of the best rituals we've ever done. It nearly went off flawlessly. We did have a few hiccups, like we put magic powder in the fire that's meant to make it go green, and we sat there staring at this fire for a good 3 or 4 minutes and realized it wasn't going green, so we had to just give up on that. and role play around it. So we're like, oh, I can see something in the fire, that sort of thing. That was funny. And while they're doing that, they were patching in Shu and Cracker, who again did amazing role play through this whole event. To get this patch in honor, they had to do a little quest, so they had to go and see Vlog, rest in peace. Go see Vlog, and he ended up sending them to see Dayro. Dayro made them do study to learn the language, because the note to tell them what to do was in Lao, which is my language that I invented. So they had to learn Lao, essentially, to be able to read it. So now I've given them the knowledge of Lao, so they've got the Bible, essentially, where they can read it now. Then it came time to OG Patch Sam, and this was easily some of the best role play I've seen in a long time. We had to paint the symbols, and we all butchered them. Like, we have symbols, we know the symbols. Mine was essentially the butt plug, and we all still butchered how we drew them, and it was funny. But and then the idea was we were just going to go from camp to camp to camp to camp and just smash everyone. So we organised it beforehand with each camp, just to send out a couple of people that you're happy to sacrifice roleplay wise, let us murder them, and then we move on to the next camp. So it's not going to be a raid in your camp. We might fight in your camp, but we're not doing anything nefarious. We're just there to kill 2 or 3 people. But that was a really big event. We got absolutely worked up, loved it. We ended up back at the Silly Goose, and we just had fist fights, and dust was going everywhere, and we were all playing games and drinking, and it just turned out to be one big celebration. And again, to Sam, congratulations on getting OG status. All right, moving on to day 4. I woke up really late this day, and my stomach wound was looking a little mank, so I fixed that up. Opened up the shop, sold a couple furs and things. Was pretty happy with that, and decided to go down to goat camp, see what the goats were up to in Shadow. And they were planning an egg ritual, so they had the dragon eggs, which was part of the main game. I really should do a video that explains what the actual was going on, because to be fair, I'm just peppering in random facts. But they were doing a ritual about the dragon eggs for the final battle. Whoever had the most amount of eggs would be the winner. So, and then it ended up just being like everyone goes a little bit crazy, and we all start fighting. And then I had like a punch on with my brother and Tian, where we're elbowing,
punching, kneeing, kicking each other in the head, drop kicking, elbows again.
Just absolute melee. It was a lot of fun. Drop kicking Nick in the chest, and then Tian running across and just flying elbowing me was hilarious. And then it came time for the final battle. Now, I said to everyone, I'm not going to goat paint, I'm not going to bull paint, which is where we paint our faces. I'm just going to watch, do some videos and relax. And then the old me kicked in. Even though I've got a hole in my stomach, I couldn't not get involved. We ended up going in there. Shadow Camp was aligned with red and silver. Green and blue, I don't know if they were aligned, to be honest. I never paid attention, but they were on the other side of the field. It looks like they were working together because they realized they were going to get steamrolled. And the battle itself lasted forever. It was actually a really long battle, which sucked for me, but Drachenfest has rules that if you get injured or you get dragged back to a healer, it takes ages for them to heal you. So I've spent most of my time getting healed because I barely had any hit points. So I'd go in, cop a couple of whacks, get dragged back or walk back and go, I need another heal. So that was just a constant for me. So it did give me time to relax a little bit, and I did get some footage. But it ended up being a champion 3-way fight to see who would become the Drachenfest champions. So Red got eliminated first, but he put on a really good show. Absolutely love watching this guy fight. Red Camp's champion gets eliminated, then Silver versus Shadow. We had Gucci in Shadow Camp. He was fighting Shadow versus Silver. eventually Silver gets the better of Shadow, and he kneels down. And he's like, good fight, that was amazing. He's trying to like heal him and bring him back. And in Shadow Camp, in Goat Rider culture, if you die, you die. You shouldn't be getting healed after a one-on-one duel. So I ran out and smacked him in the ribs with my mace and then stomped on him a couple times. Like, nothing, it's not a big deal. But that means Shadow Camp lost, Silver Camp won. So now they become the ones that will escort the dragons or the avatars into the ritual circle and essentially end the game. So Shadow Camp, I think, had the most eggs, but by allowing Silver to do that, they became the game champions. I don't actually know. I didn't pay much attention. But they ended up winning, and Silver Camp became the smallest camp, became the champions, which was awesome because Shadow and the goats love the underdogs. So we ended up doing the closing ceremony and the goodbyes. Congratulations to Silver Camp again on your victory. And then just seeing the goodbyes sort of made it all set in, like, all right, it's over, we've done it, and now we've got to move on to planning for the next one. And hopefully they do it in Victoria again. Please do it in Victoria. I'm dying. I can't really travel that far with all the stuff that I have. All the people that traveled down here, they said that they loved traveling down here with all of their luggage and building materials. They loved it. They're like, let's do that every day. So I can't travel. Poor woe is me. So please do it in Victoria. Incredible event. Get the tavern running day one. The team, thank you so much for putting on such an amazing event. The orgs, the NPCs, the avatars, all the camps. Just incredible event. All my customers. But most of all, thanks to me for being so cool. No, I can't wait for next year. It's probably going to be a lot bigger next year. Just watch this space and you'll see.